Now oral contraceptives can be of two types, right? What are the two types? It can be combined COCPs or it can be POPs, that is progesterone only pills. These are the two broad headings and classifications of oral contraceptive pills. Now combined oral contraceptive pills contains what? Estrogen plus progesterone. It contains only progesterone. Now first things first, what is the mechanism of action for both? So for this, it has got one estrogen component and one progesterone component. So we need to know the mechanism of action of both of these to act as an oral contraceptive pill. So main mechanism of action for the estrogen component of the COCPs are, it inhibits ovulation. It's inhibition of ovulation. How will you inhibit ovulation? How estrogen inhibits ovulation? It will inhibit the GnRH, which in turn will inhibit the FSH and LH, FSH more than LH. As a result of which there will be no maturation of follicles, no rupture of follicles as a result, and ovulation. This is the main mechanism of action of estrogen component. And what is the mechanism of action of this progesterone component? One is thickening of cervical mucosa, as a result of which it causes what? Not decreases sperm motility. It prevents the sperm from entering into the cervix. Cervical mucosa itself is thick, so sperm cannot penetrate it and enter into the cervical canal. That is why it acts as a contraceptive pill. It does not decrease the sperm motility. What it decreases tubal motility. Another thing is it causes decidualization of the endometrium, as a result of which it causes what? Failure of implantation or makes the endometrium unsuitable for implantation. So in broad terms, if we ask you what is the mechanism of action of COCPs is anovulation. And most importantly, how this anovulation is caused? By that of the estrogen. And what is the mechanism of action of this progesterone component is thickening of the cervical mucosa, decreases the tubal motility and decellularization of the endometrium, which makes the endometrium unsuitable for implantation. And what is the mechanism of POPs then? And exactly. Whatever we learned for the progesterone component, the same thing will be copied over here, that progesterone only contraceptive pills. This is the mechanism of action, right? Everybody knows I am rubbing it out, okay? Whenever you are learning this chapter of contraception, how will you learn? This is the way you learn. First of all, learn the mechanism of action of both. Now, what is this? For this, the COCPs, we have generations. How do you classification? How will you classify this, right? This is generations. When we say this is a low dose COCPs, what we say this is a low dose COCPs. Another we say this is a first generation, second generation, third generation or fourth generation COCPs. So COCPs can be classified on two bases. One is low dose, high dose COCPs. One is first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation COCPs. Now when we are classifying the COCPs on the basis of dosage, like low dose, high dose is basically depends upon the amount of estrogen content in that of the pill, and generation depends upon the which generation of progesterone is being used in the pill. On the basis of that we classify the COCPs. Now when we are talking about that this is a low dose OCP, what do we mean by a high dose COCPs? What is a high dose COCPs? High dose is when estrogen component is 50 mcg. But these pills are not used nowadays because as we increase the estrogen component of the pill, the side effects of the pill also increases. There is an increased risk of thromboembolism. That is why we do not use high dose estrogen containing except for some of the cases. And what is a low dose? Any pill which contains 20 to 50. That is a low dose COCPs. 20 to 50 is the low dose COCPs because less than 20 the contraception in the contraceptive efficacy goes down. So less than 20 it is not effective as a contraceptive pill. So low dose is 20 micrograms. Most commonly used is 30. Almost all the contraceptive pills whatever we are using for various purposes, 30 is the dose of ethinyl estradiol in the pill. And in case of first generation, second generation, third generation, what do you think? Which is most preferable? Which generation of progesterone will you use as a most preferred method of contraception? Fourth generation. Why fourth generation? Not maximum progesterone. As the generation goes by, as we move towards the fourth generation progesterone, what happens is third generation has low androgen effect and fourth generation these pills are anti-androgenic. So that is why whenever we are giving COCPs in case of what? In case of suppose we are giving the COCPs in case of a hyperandrogenism, in case of PCOS, in case of hirsutism. So what we need is an anti-androgenic effect because those people are hyperandrogenic. We need an anti-androgenic effect. So with that point of time we prefer is fourth generation pill. Any cases when you are giving a COCPs, do you want androgenic effect in your body? No, that is not required in your body, right? So we prefer this pill which contains less androgen or the pills who are having anti-androgenic effect. So we have to remember the names for this fourth generation progesterone. What are the fourth generation progesterone is? The most commonly used is drospirenone. The first example of this progesterone is drospirenone. Another example is Dynogest. Dynogest, you know, Dynogest. So drospirenone, what is the benefit part drospirenone is having? Anti-androgenic effect. So drospirenone basically is a spironolactone derivative. That is why it is acting as an anti-androgen. It is having a spironolactone like action. So how does it act? It has got aldosterone antagonistic like action. First mechanism of action is it has got aldosterone antagonism or aldosterone antagonistic like action, as a result of which it causes what? It causes sodium and potassium excretion and it decreases the water retention which is being caused by the estrogen component of that. So now we know the mechanism of action, the first generation, second generation, third generation and the fourth generation pills. And most commonly used progesterone component is a second generation one. Okay, most of the government supply whatever we use is Mala and Mala D, it causes levonorgestrel. And levonorgestrel is a second generation progesterone. So now most commonly pills what is used is Mala N. Mala N is a government supply, it is in government supply, and same thing which is distributed outside free of cost is Mala D. What it contains? It contains a 21-day pill packet having ethinyl estradiol plus levonorgestrel. Ethinyl estradiol is 30 mcg and levonorgestrel is 0.15 mg. This is the Mala N. Same component is Mala D. Mala N is government. Government has N and Mala N has N. This is how you remember. Whatever is supplied in the government is Mala N. It contains 21 tablets of contraceptive pills and 7 tablets of iron for the 7 days. We have Mala N. See, this is Mala N. See, levonorgestrel, ethinyl estradiol along with ferrous fumarate. So how do we advise the patient now? Whenever the patient comes to you, we have to say that, okay, see. Yeah, this is the tablet. This is tablet. See how the packet looks like. We don't have the tablet. See, these are the contraceptive pills, 21 contraceptive pills, and 7 tablets are ferrous fumarate. So what we have to say is, you keep on taking one packet after another, you keep on finishing one packet after another. This is a exactly for, see, for 21 days she took the pill. Once that this 21-day pill is over, she will start menstruating, and during the time of menstruation she will have what? She will have iron tablets, and once the 7 iron tablets are finished, again she will start a new packet, and she will keep on repeating it like that. So this is how she will take Malaine. But other tablets, whatever is available outside, this Malaine is government supply, Mala D is free of cost, which is distributed outside, but the composition is same. Another tablet what we give is overall L. It also it contains what? It contains levonorgestrel and ethyl estradiol, the same composition, but it does not have the iron tablets. So what we have to advise the patient? Now we have to advise the patient how she will start the contraception. How will you have to advise the patient? Suppose the patient has come to you on the day 1 of her menses. She is on day 1, she is currently menstruating. Then what advice you will give them? Exactly. Now how to start? Now the question comes, how to start the pill? Now how will she start the pill? See, suppose if she is on day 1 of her menstrual cycle up to day 5 of her menses, at this point of time, in this window, if she is coming to you, she can start the pill without any use of backup method of contraception. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 5, up to day 5, whenever she comes to you, you can straight away give her this pill. Okay, fine, you keep on having this pill for till 21 days and you will be protected from pregnancy. Even if she is having any unprotected intercourse, then also she can have this pill, because there is no chance of pregnancy now. But now she comes to you on day 6. Any point of time, if the patient is coming to you after day 5 of menses, you have to rule out pregnancy and you can very well start this contraceptive pill and tell her that you have to use a alternative method of contraception along with this for the next 7 days. So if the patient is coming to you from day 1 to day 5 of the menses, no additional contraceptive is required. You can straight away give her this oral contraceptive pill, done. But if she is coming at any point of time in her menstrual cycle after day 5, she needs to use an additional method of contraception or backup method of contraception for next 7 days. This is the way you have to counsel her. This is how to start the pills. Now coming to what are the side effects. Or on which patient, how do you select which patients you will give this contraception and in which patients you won't give her contraception. No, suppose, see, first of all come to postpartum period, okay. Then we will talk about the general population. Now the patient has delivered and she is, suppose she is breastfeeding. So when you will start this COCPs? 6 months after 6 months, okay. In case of breastfeeding females, we will start after 6 months. Why after 6 months? No, 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 no. See, what happens is, what we say, even if she is breastfeeding, how you are so sure that she is breastfeeding and she is satisfying the criteria of lactational amenorrhea? She might not satisfy the criteria of lactational amenorrhea, right? In that point of time also she can get pregnant. So, but when she is breastfeeding, we say do not give it for 6 months because estrogen component of the COCPs actually decrease the breast milk content. So that is why we say do not give, and it increases the risk of thromboembolism. Even if she is not breastfeeding, then also we say Do not give COCPs for at least 3 weeks. Why at least 3 weeks? Because in this period of time there is highest risk of thromboembolism. Even if you have to give it, we say beyond 3 weeks or ideally after 6 weeks when the risk of thromboembolism decreases. Up to 3 weeks, basically up to 3 weeks she is anovulatory. Her ovulation does not begin. Whenever the patient delivers, immediate in the postpartum period after 3 weeks up to 21 days she doesn't ovulate. First ovulation occurs after 21 days of giving birth, even if she is not breastfeeding. Okay, so that is why we say in case of a breastfeeding female, if you want to start COCPs, you start at least after, ideally after 6 weeks when the risk of thromboembolism is low, and if she is breastfeeding after 6 months. So this is the postpartum, okay. But in case of general population, when she is not asking for a postpartum contraception, she has come to say general population, she is not having any pregnancy, she has come up to you that I need some contraception. How will you choose that whether she can have COCPs or she cannot have COCPs? How will you choose? What are the absolute contraindications? What are the relative contraindications? We have to know. And what are the indications? We have to know about those. Who are the patients whom you won't give? What are the absolute contraindications of COCPs? What are the absolute contraindications? Suppose she is a known case of active breast cancer. So what happens? She is a ER/PR positive. Suppose she is a ER/PR positive breast cancer and you are giving her COCPs, that is estrogen containing COCPs. So it will flare up the disease and she will land up in a further aggravated stage, right? So in case of active breast disease, you won't give COPs. In case of active liver disease, or active hepatocellular carcinoma, when she is having uncontrolled hypertension. What do you mean by uncontrolled hypertension? That is 160, 110. But suppose she is having 160, 110 at one point of time, but now she is under medication and that hypertension is controlled. You can give COPs. The exact sentence is uncontrolled hypertension. If she is suppose she is a lady who smokes more than 10 to 15 cigarettes per day and she is more than 35 years and she has been smoking for more than 10 years. So you won't give her COCPs because she is at high risk of thromboembolism. So you won't give her COPs. She is having diabetes with vasculopathy. Diabetes having some vascular changes. Suppose she is having diabetes, type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes and having some retinal changes. She is having some proliferative retinopathy or some vasculopathy, that is some ischemic necrosis is going on in her or some DVT is there. So you won't give her COPs. Or if there is family history of thromboembolism, idiopathic thromboembolism, or she is having, she is herself is a known case of thromboembolism. Previously she had a history of cardiovascular accident, or previously she had a history of myocardial infarction. In that case, you won't prescribe her combined oral contraceptive pills. Or she is having any risk factors. What risk factors? Suppose she is immobile for a prolonged period of time due to some operation or due to some trauma, or she is having some malignancy which increasing her risk for having thromboembolism. So in case of thromboembolism, family history of thromboembolism, she herself is having thromboembolism previous history, or she is having any risk factors for thromboembolism. Anything related to thromboembolism, do not prescribe COCPs, exactly. And if she is having migraine with aura, plain migraine, you can give COCPs. If she is having migraine with aura, do not give COCPs. So what are the conditions where you won't give? Exactly. So what are the non-contraceptive benefits? These are the places where you won't give, but there are certain cases where COCPs is a drug of choice, right? So what are the cases where COCPs are the drug of choice? So these are the non-contraceptive part. So you write non-contraceptive uses of COCPs. What are the non-contraceptive uses? One, it can be used for PCOD patients. It can be used for releasing premenstrual syndrome. It can be used for decreasing the dysmenorrhea in case associated with PCOS. It can be used as a drug of choice for what? Drug of choice for hirsutism. In case of hirsutism, we use ethanyl estradiol along with what is the drug of choice? That is cyproterone acetate. In case of PCOD, what will you use is drospirenone. Why? Because it has got anti-androgenic properties. In case of PCOD, what is the basic pathology? There is hyperandrogenism, right? So you have to decrease the hyperandrogenism. So what generation of progesterone will you choose? Fourth. So that is this is drospirenone. In case of fibroids, if the patient is coming with heavy menstrual bleeding, first drug of choice is use of COCPs. Then in case of what? In case of this thing, regularization of the menstruation, then also you use COCPs. So these are the non-contraceptive benefits of COCPs. Hirsutism is when she is having any excessive development of facial hairs on abnormal places, right? These are the non-contraceptive. What are the risk factors? Now suppose a patient is having COCPs for a prolonged period of time. What will you counsel her? What diseases she can acquire? It increases the chances of benign tumors of the liver. At liver, it is said that it increases the chances of having hepatocellular adenomas, not hepatocellular carcinomas. It does not increase the chances of hepatocellular carcinoma, never. It increases what? It increases the chances of hepatocellular adenoma. That is why we say in case of active liver disease, in case of active hepatocellular carcinoma, in case of whatever we have studied in the contraindication, every time I have mentioned active diseases. If she is currently having derange LFT, do not give. If she had a previous history of derange LFT, but now the LFT reports are normal, now she is not suffering for anything, you can very well prescribe her OCPs. Got my point? So said that if a patient is having COCPs for more than 10 years, she is at risk of cervical cancer. But the cancer risk is reversible. If she now stops the use of COCPs at today, then 5 to 10 years down the line, the risk also becomes normal and risk is same as that of the general population. It increases the risk of thromboembolism in those where the risk factors of thromboembolism are already present. That is why we have studied what? Those who are patients who are at risk of thromboembolism, having family history of thromboembolism or any other such cases, we do not. So now what is the most common organism causing PID in a patient of having COCPs? It's chlamydia. This is a exam question. Somebody asks you can say that. In a patient having COCPs, if she is having PID, the most common organism involved is chlamydia. Now coming to missed pill, which is the most important part of this entire COCPs. Suppose you have advised her how to take the pill, that is 1 to 5 days of menses. If she is coming, she can very well start the pill. If she is coming after day 5 of your menses, then you have advised her, okay fine, you start taking the pill, but you have to use additional method of contraception for the next 7 days. You advised her, she took the pill, fine, 1 month she took the pill the way you have advised. For the very next month, what happened is she missed one pill, and now she has come up to you. How will you counsel her that what things she has to be done? Now see, whenever we are advising the patient about taking the pill, what happens? It causes day 1 to day 7 one pill, day 8 to another week. This is the first week, this is the second week, this is the third week, right? This is how we take the pill. This is the day 21. Now suppose the patient has come up to you with one pill is missed, one missed pill. Whenever you are solving questions for missed pill, remember this diagram. First week 7 pills, second week 7 pills, third week 7 pills. Now whenever she comes up to you, you have to check first how many pills have been missed. Okay, fine, one pill has been missed. One pill has been missed and now she is in the first week of her pill taking week and she remembers the very next week, very next day. What will you tell her? Whenever she remembers the missed pill, take that pill and take the pill on her usual time. And she does not require any emergency contraceptive or any other backup method for one missed pill. But suppose she has missed 2 or more pills. Now what will you tell? In the first week, if she has missed 2 or more contraceptive pill, then immediately take whatever pills she has taken plus the usual pill, plus she has to take emergency contraception in case of unprotected sexual intercourse, plus 7 days of additional method of contraceptive, be it a barrier method or any other method. Suppose same 2 pills has been missed in the second week and she had unprotected intercourse as well. Then what will you do? If she has missed 2 or more pills in the second week, then she will take the missed pill as well her usual pills, normally whatever we have studied. But in case of second week, she does not need any emergency contraception. Why? Because since in the first week she has taken her all the contraceptive pills for 7 days. Once all the 7 days consecutive contraceptive pills has been taken, her ovulation has already been inhibited. Now even if she is having unprotected intercourse in the second week, she does not need emergency contraception. But to be on the safer side, we say EC is not required, but additional backup method is still required for 7 days. Same is for the third week. EC is not required, but 7 days additional contraceptive method should always be given. Another thing what happens is, suppose up to 21 days she has taken her pill, fine. Now she had menstruated, fine. Then what happens? She had intercourse. And instead of starting the pill here, she remembered, okay fine, I have to take the pill. She started at suppose day 4. She remembered her pill and she started the pack at day 4. This is known as what? This is late starting of the pack. She should have started on Monday, but now she is starting it on Thursday. Before that she had unprotected sexual intercourse. In that case what happens? She has to start the pill packet on Thursday itself, as well as take emergency contraception, as well as take backup method for 7 days. This is known as late starting of the new packet. If she is starting the packet late by more than 2 days, then she has to take an EC, she has to take an emergency contraception as well as additional contraceptive method for 7 days. So now we know the idea of missed pill. This is the easiest method, you have to understand like this. So what we studied is basic funda is what? She has to take the pills for consecutive 7 days, so as to it has inhibited the ovulation. So in the second or the third week, we do not need EC. We need only 7 days of additional contraception. Whenever she remembers, take 2 pills. In the first week,
EC plus additional contraception.
Exactly. These rules we are studying for more than 2 missed pill. For 1 missed pill, nothing has to be done. Whatever week she is, just take the missed pill, take additional contraception for 7 days. This was the easiest method. Why 7 days barrier we have? Because 7 consecutive pills are needed for inhibition of the ovulation. What was the main mechanism of action? This is the concept of missed pill. So what we have studied for COCPs is, what was the mechanism of action? For estrogen component used to inhibit the ovulation. Progesterone component, what it was doing? Her mucosa decreasing the tubal motility and desudalization of the endometrium to implantation. Not prevent implantation, actual terminology should be makes the endometrium unsuitable for implantation, because there are certain pills which actually prevent implantation. That's why I don't want to use that terminology. And what is the indication, what are the non-contraceptive benefits?
sexual syndrome.
OCPs in case of hyperandrogenic state, in case of fibroids, regularization of the menstruation. And what are the absolute contraindication where you will never give COCPs?
Active breast disease, active liver disease, hepatocellular carcinoma, diabetes.
Okay. Now we have to learn about what? You have to learn about progesterone only pills. Progesterone only pills, mechanism of action was same, we have already studied. Exactly. And progesterone only pills can be given everywhere where the estrogen was contraindicated. And it can be started immediately after pregnancy as well, because it does not affect the breast milk production, it does not have any effect on the lipid metabolism, it does not have any effect on the carbohydrate metabolism as well. And levonorgestrel or the second generation progesterone has the lowest risk of this thromboembolism. And how will you take progesterone only pills? The only drawback of progesterone only pills is that you have to take the progesterone only pills every day at a fixed time, because it has got a window period of 3 hours. Suppose today at 9 am she is supposed to take the progesterone only pill, and the very next day at 9 am she has forgotten to take her pill. Now she remembers okay fine, I have forgotten to take the pill, now when I should take the pill, and now suppose it is already 1 o'clock, so it is a missed pill. But suppose she is remembering to take the pill at 12 o'clock and she takes the progesterone only pill at that point of time, so it is fine. Suppose in case of conventional PUPs, the window period is 3 hours or more than 3 hours. Suppose her usual pill taking time on Monday is 9 am. So next day Tuesday it should have been taken at 9 am and Wednesday also at 9 am. But on Tuesday what happens? At 12 o'clock she remembers. She will take her pill, done. But she remembers it at 1 p.m. Then it becomes a missed pill. Then what will happen? She will take her pill. In between, if she has intercourse, then she has to take emergency contraception. But if she does not have unprotected intercourse, she will take her usual pill as well as the next day an usual pill. Done. This is how we have classified. And in case she is having desogestrel pills, the window period is 12 hours. Depending upon the progesterone component. If she is having levonorgestrel, that is 3 hours window period. If she is having desogestrel, then window period is 12 hours. And failure rate with progesterone only pills are higher just because of this lesser window period, and with the COCPs the window period is much more longer, like 24 hours. So that's why the failure rate is less. That is the only difference part. And the benefit part of this progesterone is it can be given on all the places, all the indications where COCPs were contraindicated. And in case immediately postpartum if she wants to start with POPs, we can very well give it. And COCPs, how long you can give it? Up to 51 years. After that the risk of thromboembolism normally increases. That's why we have to switch over to any other alternative contraceptive method. Now another thing is that is known as Chaya or Centroman. This is also a oral contraceptive pill. This has been developed by CDRL, that is Drug Research Laboratory of India. This is the only indigenous that has been developed in India itself at Lucknow. What is the advantages or why government has pressed on this Chaya or Centroman? Because it is a selective estrogen receptor modulator. What is the mechanism of action of Chaya or Centroman is? It is selective estrogen receptor modulator. What do we mean by selective estrogen receptor modulator? At some places in our body it has having estrogenic properties, whereas at certain places it has got anti-estrogenic properties. So in the uterus or in the reproductive organs, it has anti-estrogenic properties. And in case of our bone health or bone mineral density, it has got estrogen-like action. So main composition of this centroman or chaya is ormeloxifene. And how do we prescribe this chaya or ormeloxifene is, initial 3 months she has to take this 30 mg of centroman or ormeloxifene twice a week. Suppose today is Monday, she is taking, again after 3 days she will take for 3 months, and then once weekly. And what is the main advantage of this is, this is a non-steroidal preparation. See, it has been only non-steroidal contraceptive pill. So previously these were all steroidogenic, right? It had got some or the other adverse effects on the metabolism, lipid metabolism or carbohydrate metabolism. It used to increase the risk of thromboembolism. In case of hypertension, we were not prescribing those drugs. That is why this chaya was developed by the government and it is marketed under the name of chaya. Centroman has been developed and marketed under the name of chaya, so as to we have this non-steroidal composition. It has got some, itself it has got some benefits. And how will you prescribe? Twice a week for 3 months and once a week for the remaining. For starting, it has to be given twice a week. It contains 30 mg of ormeloxifene. It is a estrogen receptor, selective estrogen receptor modulator. These are basically the various oral contraceptive pills. Now, oral contraceptive pills can be given as an, there are various emergency contraceptives as well. So, this is unwanted 72 and these are basically the brand names. It actually contains what? It actually contains levonorgestrel. And how will you tell them how to have this levonorgestrel? Within 72 hours. We say why within 72 hours, because levonorgestrel can act as an emergency contraceptive pill only when your ovulation has not occurred. If the ovulation has occurred already and you are giving this levonorgestrel, it won't work. It basically prevents the ovulation. That is why we have to give it before, prior to ovulation, that is within 72 hours. And what is the dose? 1.5 mg of levonorgestrel is there, we have to take the pill. See, what we have studied is, see, 21 tablets of OCPs and 7 tablets of iron tablets. These are the basics of oral contraceptive pills as well as emergency contraceptive pills. Now, transdermal patches and injectables will be done in the next class. Mala N is in the government supply. Mala D is same, it is distributed in the shops or any other ASHA workers free of cost. And anything having this overall L, overall G or anything of that sort, it is given not free of cost. Composition is same. It is a brand name which is changing. Composition is same and it is not coming free of cost. Most not potent. It is fourth generation is beneficial where it is having anti-androgenic properties. That is why fourth generation is being popular nowadays. Because for PCOD patients, for hirsutism patients, where they are having these changes, we give them fourth generation pills. We are slowly shifting towards the fourth generation pill, the drospirenol. But most commonly, whatever oral pills we are giving for regularization of the menstruation. Suppose she is having heavy menstrual bleeding or she needs regularization of the menstruation, then we give second generation containing levonorgestrel. Most of the pills like Femlon, whatever brand names are available, overall L or whatever is available, most of them having levonorgestrel only, second generation pills. But there are certain selective cases where we know the patient is having acne, she is having facial hairs. We know she needs both regularization of the menstrual cycle as well as she needs to get rid of her hyperandrogenism. Then you choose fourth generation oral contraceptive pill which is having dual action, anti-androgenic as well as it is a regularization of the menstrual cycle. You are getting my point? না কিছু প্রবলেম হবে না, মানে if she is not taking iron tablets, iron tablets are only for the health supplements, right? As well as it causing what? She is taking regularly, she is taking the pill. That is why the iron tablets are given for easy understanding of the patient. It does not have any contraception for that matter. Even if she is missing these pills, it doesn't, nothing will happen. After 72 hours, suppose she is coming up to you having unprotected intercourse after 72 hours. Today, suppose she had unprotected intercourse, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, she is coming up to you. Then you cannot give LNG. I mean, you cannot give her unwanted 72 or I pill, whatever pills which are having liver nodules. Then what choices you are having? You have to, up to 5 days, what are the pills which are working? Up to 5 days, you can either give her Operty, which can act as a long-acting contraception as well as an emergency contraception, or you can give her ulipristal acetate. Ulipristal acetate can act up to 120 days or 120 hours or up to 5 days. So anybody has any confusion regarding OCPs or POPs? These are the very basics you will be asked in the exam. Whenever you are taking up the packet, this packet is given to you in the exam, check what is the composition, what you are uttering. You should know levonorgestrel how much mg, 0.15 mg and ethylene estradiol of 30 mcg. What is a low dose pill? Then they will ask you whether it is a low dose pill or a high dose pill. It is obviously a low dose pill. And levonorgestrel is a, even if they ask you about the generation of the pill, this will be a second generation because it contains levonorgestrel. Suppose the packet has been given to you and it is written ethylene estradiol along with drosperinone 3 mg. Then it will be what? It will be a 4th generation pill. So check the composition as well as the content of the estrogen. This is first part. Then you tell them what are the indication, what is the mechanism of action, what everything.